And welcome everyone to another Smart Money Circle update. I'm Adam Sarhan. With me today is Geert Kersten, who's the CEO of Cel-Sci Corp, ticker symbol CVM. Geert, thank you so much for taking the time and welcome to the Smart Money Circle.
Well, thank you so much, Adam, for having me. I'm excited.
So I always like to begin. Can you tell us a little about your journey and how you got to where you are today?
It's a completely illogical journey to most people because my background is actually not science. I have a financial background and I'm a lawyer. So what am I doing in biotech? And the reality is half of bringing a drug to market is actually finding the money for it and putting the various pieces together. The other half is the science. So I contribute the
I
one.
love that. So you started off in finance and law. Tell us about your journey. How did you become CEO of and where you are today, please?
So I'm originally from Germany, and I did very well in school. So I got bored. I met a friend of mine who went to school in England. My parents said, "Okay, you want to go to school in England?" I did that. I finished high school in England, and then my stepfather had lived in New York for a long time, and I heard all these amazing stories. So I wanted to live in New York. So I applied for college and at Columbia, and I was accepted. And uh, my father and my stepfather said, no, 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 not New York City. I mean, I was an 18, 19-year-old boy, right? I didn't, I, I had girls on my mind, right? So they said, you're not going to New York City, you'll get lost. So I went to George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and spent my weekends in New York, right? A typical young guy, right? But fortunately, I had a brain that allowed me to then do undergraduate in 3 years in accounting, then an MBA in 1 year, and then law school, which actually then allowed me to marry my wife because she has this ridiculous requirement that a husband should have a brain.
I love that. Listen, that's a great requirement. I
She
wish more people
actually
had that on both
requires a
sides.
brain. So it was
Right.
law school that clinched her.
Okay. I love that rule. I wish everybody had that rule on both sides. So then after law school, what happened?
Then, I joined a small financial advisory firm in Northern Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C. So it's an area that's very well to do, has a lot of very successful businessmen who needed financial advice. And then I joined this company just for 6 months. I was going to help them raise some capital and then go to New York and become an investment banker. One of the many, many people. And well, except I got sidetracked because the idea of helping people while making money, I mean, this was so simplistic. We go back, literally, this was the early days of biotech. We had visions that you combine 1+1 and you've got a drug on the market. It's so much more, it's so much different. Anyway, I got sucked into this idea of helping people. Look, what we've created here is it's bigger than a normal cancer drug. So a normal cancer drug seeks to help a dying cancer patient live a little longer. And in some cases, they don't even live longer. They just give them some benefit. In fact, most cancer drugs don't really extend your life. We want to change all of that. We want to redirect the river where it starts. Imagine you take the Mississippi and it goes to California as opposed to the east, right? That's what we want to do. So our idea is, and we all know people who've had this issue. You get your normal treatment, surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, horrible treatments. We want to avoid them, but we take them because we want to live. Why do we get all of these treatments or many of these treatments? It's because the surgery can only remove that which we can see. Radiotherapy mathematically removes a percentage, but not everything. Chemotherapy has its own issues there. So your chance of eliminating all tumor with one of these treatments is very small. So you combine them. But it still doesn't work, right? Think among your friends and family, and listeners here, think about it. How many people we thought were cured and the tumor came back? How many of those people where the tumor came back were actually saved? Because generally when that tumor comes back, it's the beginning of the end. So therefore, what you must do is you must make that first cancer treatment more successful.
Mhm.
If you can do that, and by the way, money follows, right? Because it's no one's died yet, no one's cured. It's the biggest market. But if you can do that, you can literally redirect the river. You can reduce the number of people where the tumor comes back by making the first cancer treatment more successful. So then the question is, how do you do that? Well, you're alive, I'm alive, we have immune systems that work, right? What happens in cancer patients? Well, the tumor is like a terrorist. It hides from your immune system. So we all know people who were really fit, right? Ate very well and still died from cancer. Well, their immune system didn't see the cancer. So therefore, it didn't fight the cancer. So just having a strong immune system doesn't help you. Make a long story short, this is what we did. We created, I call it simplistically, a copy of a healthy immune system, which is why our drug is non-toxic, which is why we built a $200 million manufacturing facility. And we're giving that to cancer patients before surgery, radiation, and chemo. So years ago, people said it was stupid, or you don't need to do it, blah, blah, blah. Now everybody was trying to do it.
So let me make sure I understand this right about what your company does is that you're looking at cancer, you can see the issue. It's obviously an awful, awful, awful disease where we want to beat it instead of using the existing methods of beating it. You want to attack it or help redirect that river before it even you start normal treatment because there's a
No,
way.
not quite.
Okay,
It's
please,
like
yeah, please help. Yeah.
if surgery, radiation, and chemo are your car, then we're the turbo that's being added to your car.
Okay, understood.
Now you
Fair
add
enough.
a turbo, we all expect that car to be a lot faster, more responsive, right? And the same thing here. If I can, let's say you have a normal, let's make it simple. You have a normal cure rate in quotation marks of 50%. That means 50% of these people have a tumor coming back and they'll die. Well, what if I can add our drug and then I'll make it a 65% cure rate?
Got it.
That means those 65% are safe, and you have the 35 where the tumor comes back and they have the usual problems.
Beautiful.
That's an enormous impact. And by the way, it saves money to the system.
I love it. So let's talk about the actual science behind it, please. Can you let us know how it works?
So your body makes cytokines, interleukins, interferons, and growth factors. They, as a group, it's like a football team. They all have different functions. As a group, they modulate your immune response. As we speak right now, the body makes all of these cytokines and it regulates your immune system up and down. Many of these cytokines have been used as single substances as cancer treatments, for example, interleukin 2. That's like putting the quarterback on the field and with no team, right? It's better than having no one on the field, but it's not what it needs, okay? So we just replicate that which appears to work because you're alive and I'm alive. So we copy it, right? And we give it to patients around the tumor. So most tumors, when you first diagnose them, they're not spread throughout the body. Once they're spread throughout the body, the chance that you can be saved is minuscule. So you don't focus on those people. You focus on the great majority of people who have a localized tumor. Let's say, in our case, in head and neck cancer in your tongue. And the fear is that it will go into the lymph nodes and then the lungs and then the brain and you die. So we inject it locally because we don't need to activate the immune system throughout the body. I only need to activate it in the tumor area because I want the immune system, while it's still healthy because it's before surgery, radiation, chemo, I want your immune system to realize that there's a tumor. So I can boost your immune system. Think about it this way. We say, oh, we want to boost our immune systems. It doesn't help if your immune system never knows that there's a tumor.
Gotcha. So it's that makes sense. You have to detect it first. The detection, there we go. of the
No,
tumor.
it's not detection. It's you need to help the immune system realize that there's a tumor, because right now, as we're speaking, we have about 3 billion immune cells running around the body looking for something to do.
Okay, got it.
And
And
then
then you
if they
mentioned, yeah,
realize, oh, there's a tumor in your tongue, they come flooding in. And in fact, that's why we are only allowed to treat for 3 weeks, very, very short time period, because we're not allowed to delay the surgery. Simple recommendation. The data shows clearly that particularly if it's an advanced tumor, do not delay your surgery. It is bad for your survival, okay? Do not putz around with whatever you want to think of. Get your surgery done. It's still the best treatment out there. So 3 weeks, we have tumors that are completely 100% gone.
oh wow, that's
Exactly.
awesome.
That's the power of a healthy immune system.
Got
And
it. So yeah, go ahead.
it's almost a holistic idea, right? So many people will tell you, well, we're taking T cells, which are the key cells of the immune system, and we're modulating them here, and we're doing this, we're doing that. We're just trying to copy that which keeps us alive every single day, which is also why it's non-toxic, and which is why we have massive survival benefit in a certain type of patients, but not when you add chemotherapy.
Gotcha. So to
Kills them
attack it
all.
early, sorry, to attack it early to make sure I understand, you're replicating healthy antibodies or the immune system to fight it, and then let the body know, hey, listen, there's a tumor here growing, because sometimes it can't really see it until it's too late. And let's go ahead and have that army focus on that one tumor. Is that correct? And then if we're
Except
able
for the
to attack
first
it
part,
early,
we give people locally the cytokines, which the body naturally produces. We give them locally such that they think of it as light up to the immune system, the
okay,
tumor, and then your army of immune cells can do what they are programmed to do. I mean, that's what they're there for, right?
got it.
Once they
Makes sense.
see the tumor as foreign, they attack it. If they think the tumor as being natural and not foreign, they won't attack it. In fact, there are two types of immune cells that typically attack a cancer cell. It's a natural killer cell and a CD8 killer cell. And I have seen pictures in multiple publications where these killer cells that are supposed to kill a tumor sit inside a tumor and don't kill.
Wow.
Well, think about it this way. There's a policeman, and the terrorist walks down the street and says hi to the policeman, and they say hi back. That's a terrorist, right?
Right.
If
Right.
they knew what the bad guy looked like and had a picture, they would arrest that guy at that time, okay? But they don't know. So therefore, hiring more police doesn't help. You
Got
need
it.
to give them the info, the intel, and that's what our drug's about. It's the intel that tells your immune system. Look at Israel, right? After the October 7th mess up last year, the intel that Israel has been working with must be unbelievably amazing, right?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't think their military is much different. It's just that they have the information and they're using it. That is what Multikine is doing. It's a smart intel for your immune system.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. Okay, thank you for explaining that. So let's talk about risk management. How do you handle risk, and what are some timeless mistakes you see people make with respect to risk management?
Well, every time you walk across the street, you manage risk, right? I mean, literally, even if there's not a car in sight, someone could be going around the corner going 200 miles an hour and kill you. So you manage risk by looking left, looking right, and then go faster. The people who get run over are the drunks who don't do that kind of stuff, right? So
Yeah.
that's called risk management. We manage our risk in every way. So, for example, we, at the request of FDA, built a dedicated manufacturing facility. Well, why would that be so important? It is half, and Wall Street never asked these questions. Half of a drug application is the manufacturing. FDA will not give you approval if they are unsure about your manufacturing, because you have to produce a product that's always the same. You are not allowed to do a phase 3 study, proof of a concept with apples and then sell oranges. And this sounds simple, but it's actually much more complex. So we built the facility. We incurred over $200 million in expenses, which Wall Street gives you no credit for because they don't understand it to be important. And so that is check. We also did extensive clinical trials. The reason we are so good right now is because we had a phase 3 clinical trial of 928 patients in head and neck cancer, which is one of the worst cancers, because we've literally had very, very little success in head and neck cancer. Head and neck cancer is 6 biggest cancer from under your nose down to your clavicle, right?
Okay.
They cut your tongue out, things like that. It's miserable. So you minimize your risk by doing work. Very, very often the idea is, I apologize, something popped up here, which I have to get rid of. And yes, okay. So I apologize. You're better off doing more work in order to figure out your various parameters so that your final work is going to be successful. So if I think back to the history of Amgen, Regeneron, Celgene, people think it was a straight line. It wasn't at all.
Never, yeah.
So George Rathman, the founder of Amgen, says you have to walk through the valley of death, which means almost going out of business as a biotech company before you become a real company, right? What is so fascinating is that investors still have this idea that it goes in a straight line. So personally speaking, I will buy a biotech stock as in the IPO phase. Why? It's that first weekend with your hot new girlfriend, right?
Right.
It's, oh my gosh, this, I don't think I have to say anything. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? And by the way, I'm a happily married man, okay, for many, many years. But, you know, over time, a year later, those same investors will say, why haven't you cured cancer yet? Because they loved you when they bought you. You can never meet their expectations. Then when you go into phase 2 studies, etc., it becomes like the Sahara Desert. You're not close to approval, you're in between. It's hard to keep the attention of investors. And then in phase 3, it's all data-driven. That's where I invest because generally by the time you reach phase 3, you're either one of the golden ones who's sponsored by the, by the power people, and then you're overvalued. I can give you plenty of examples of that today. Or you're a company where you actually have to sift through data. And that requires that you use your brain. Old-fashioned concept, right? Don't look at stock charts, use your brain. That is where the opportunity is because in the end, FDA doesn't care whether you're sponsored by someone big. They look at the data. And you've seen the blow-ups, right? Heavily hyped companies. Oh, they have this money and they have these famous people and these famous investors, and then the data blows up and nothing can be saved. In our case, we've been around for a very long time. And we still haven't brought the drug to market. That is, in fact, the number one criticism against us. And the answer is, yes, you're right. On the other hand, we're doing something that's never been done. So how long is that supposed to take? Because everybody else who has tried has failed.
Right. Makes sense.
We, on the other hand, just got FDA go-ahead for a confirmatory study. Confirmatory study means you have really, really, really good data. They just want you to present it in the manner that allows them to check the boxes.
Yep. Makes sense.
Okay, so we have, because it's been 3.5 years of terrible biotech time, it's small cap time, whatever. We have a company under $100 million. And typically a successful cancer drug is worth in the range of $10+ billion. So you have to think. We look at the data. That's where the opportunity is. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. Maybe you just want to ask me more questions. Yeah, it's very hard to get going. We want to change the world and we're succeeding.
Not at
It
all. Yeah, I
saves
was about to
time.
say you're not talking too much at all. Actually, in fact, I enjoy it very much. So, from a risk standpoint, you're just to recap for the audience, what you're saying here is that risk exists everywhere. You cross the street, there's risk. Make sure you can identify it and then mitigate it if I understand you properly. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's, look, anyone who's a stock investor knows that, right? So some people
Yeah.
just simply buy momentum.
Right.
I have never been able to do that because to me, it I'm highly educated and I like to look at the data and the facts to make my own opinion, not follow everybody else.
Understood. Yeah, no, I listen, in my book, I say there's an infinite number of ways to make money in the market. Your job's to find one that works for you. So if
Exactly.
that worked for you, then God bless it works.
So I've
Okay.
been, knock on wood,
Yeah.
I have been very fortunate. I've put a lot of money into Cel-Sci. What I'm good at is independent thinking, okay? And uh, so some of my greatest successes have in fact been in Cel-Sci. So I have to obviously maintain a portfolio on the side because I've gone with no salary. I've put money into Cel-Sci, all of these kinds of things. It's a little crazy. My wife hates it, but so I do best in industries that are completely disregarded, right? Because people simply say, let's pick something like in the last few years, shipping. Shipping was a horror, but shipping became very interesting in the last few years,
Right.
which allowed me to make, in some cases, 10 times my money.
Mhm.
Where do you get that ability? Cel-Sci, we went through the same thing. 6.5 years ago, our stock was beaten up, 82 cents. I bought 400,000 shares at 84 cents. I'm very good at buying, except I never sell Cel-Sci stock because I was actually worth about $100 million in Cel-Sci stock about 3.5 years ago.
Mhm.
And I never sold a cent because I have this stupid, well, my wife calls it stupid, feeling that as a CEO, I need to be held to a higher standard. Okay. So, but now that with the stock down, I feel stupid. I agree. But anyway, so the stock
In the
went,
short term, I understand that, but long term, we'll see how, I think genius and stupid or genius and silly are the very thin line between that. And
I'm
nine
not
out of 10
genius, but
times,
but but
yeah,
but definitely not normal. That there's no
we'll
question
see.
about
Yeah, we'll
that, right?
see. Time will
Um,
tell.
yeah, if you're successful, then you're suddenly really smart. And if you're not,
Exactly.
you're
Yeah,
an
I was about
idiot.
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The but I mean, literally, look, 3.5 years later, and it looked terrible. We owed money and all of these horrible things. We're 100 times better right now. 3.5 years later, we hit $41. So you can say that was just one day, yes, but we did had $25 and traded there for a long time, and now we're back to a dollar, right?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. You've got to play the swings. But all along, you need to look at the data. Does it make sense? Is this something, in our case, is this something that can produce the survival benefit that you need? Because if you have a survival benefit in a cancer where there are no effective treatments, there's literally, and particularly when you have no toxicities, there's literally no one who will want to or can stand in your way.
Right.
At that point, history has shown it. Wall Street, they all love you. Pharma company wants to buy you. So the most recent example last year was Immunogen.
Hmm.
Immunogen did a confirmatory study like we're doing now, right? Because they had good results and they had to confirm certain things. So this is a way of FDA to bring drugs to market. Confirmatory study. The study was successful. The valuation was at $3.5 billion. And a few months later, AbbVie bought them for $10.1 billion.
Hmm.
Why didn't AbbVie buy them earlier? The business of pharma is not to discover anymore. They have smart people, they have great labs, they have money, but they're not inventing because they're not, I don't know, it's just guys like us, we live on the edge 7 days a week, right?
Right.
And a lot, you probably being having your own business, right? You don't stop working on Sunday, do you? Or
Not at
Saturday?
all. Not at all.
Exactly. So most of our listeners are going to be the same way.
Right.
So as an investor, you never stop thinking about it. So that's why we, as the little guys, develop these things. and then they get sold. So in fact, in the last financing that we did, I wanted to invest $500,000, except I couldn't because of the way it was set up. Okay. We've gone through, so we have this unbelievably good data. We should talk about it, right? But our drug didn't work everywhere, but in the people where it works, it's so good. It's hard to see that you cannot repeat it. Because literally, if you can jump over a fence that's 3 feet tall, you should be able to jump over a fence that's 1 foot tall, right?
Right.
And so we've jumped over 3 feet, and now we have to jump 1 foot, basically. That's kind of the comparisons. That's how good it is. And it's non-toxic, and it's needed, and all of that stuff. But look, you just it's not easy. And I'm going on here. I apologize. I get excited. This is a way to change the world and make an enormous amount of money. And it is enhanced by the fact that the last 3 years in this industry have been such that investors have almost disregarded the sector. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're saying it's kind of like the shipping stocks a few years ago. It's where
Exactly.
biotech is now. So fast forward 3 years from now, there's a very high likelihood that biotech stocks in general are much higher. And a large reason why biotech stocks have been under pressure has been the Fed and macro issues. The Fed was raising rates. It's not conducive for biotechs. Now the Fed's easing rates. No, it makes perfect sense.
That's
So
exactly
yeah,
right. And by the way, this is some very interesting thing that's happening, I was told, is we're now starting to see in small biotechs that have a large short position. So one of the fun things has been for the short sellers to target biotech.
right.
Okay. We are, I'm told, one of the most heavily targeted companies by short sellers, right? In fact, earlier in the year, we had a borrow rate, listen, of 124%. How crazy is that, right?
It's
So
beyond, yeah, it's beyond comprehension. It's over the number of stock in the flow. I mean, it's crazy. People are going nuts.
it makes
Yeah.
no sense, right? But
Mhm.
that's when you have the market trend. So where biotech was bad, they did well, so they feel encouraged, except then it turns. Perfect example. This is what I was told I should talk about. Things are starting to turn in these small biotechs, and they will suddenly run. So there's a company called BioV, BIVI, I think it is, last week. The stock suddenly more than doubled on no news. There's a company, this is the most unbelievable, 10 days ago, stock symbol drug, DRUG. It was a $2 stock. It went
Yeah, I
to
saw that.
75
Yeah, it's nuts. And now it's at
on
50.
no
Yeah, I get that.
news.
Yeah.
So this guy who told me I should talk about this has raised literally, I don't know, 20, $30 billion for biotech. He says, Geert, this is a sign that biotech is coming back into favor. These unexplained runs, short squeezes, and he says it's, like you said, interest rates come down. The people are no longer selling all their stocks to put it all into Nvidia, right? Literally,
Right.
someone told me this 6 months ago. They're now broadening, and we are the disregarded group. So if you then look at it, we have almost 4-year survival benefit with our drug in the population for which we have to do the confirmatory study.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
4
So
years.
let's go forward, Gear, because you have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of really good content here. You've got a situation with your industry, not just your stock, that's extremely undervalued, which I'm very bullish on biotech, full disclosure, and life sciences in general. I love what you guys do. It helps people live better. So I root for you also on a personal level. And
Thank
I
you.
I
By the way,
want
it's
to
also
think
non-toxic.
exactly, yeah,
Yes.
which you've
Uh-huh.
covered, which beautifully. So let's shift the conversation a little bit and talk about some timeless lessons. What are some timeless lessons you've learned along the way that you'd like to share with the audience, please?
Um, Half of success, I believe, in life is persistence.
I love that. That is so powerful.
Then the other half I tell my kids is you don't always have to hire the most brilliant person, but you have to hire the dependable person, right? So think about it this way. If I'm going into battle and I need help, it's better to have you show up with 10 soldiers today than with 1,000 after the battle has ended.
Right.
Right? You got to be there, got to be dependable.
Yeah.
I have a team of people, literally, we completely depend upon one another. We trust one another. And yeah, what can I say? Our track record shows that we're not always financially as well funded as we should be, but scientifically, we've always been right in an area, this is I want to emphasize, that no one has ever succeeded in before us.
Well,
So
hats off to you. Absolutely
it's
fantastic.
like Christopher Columbus coming into the Americas.
Right.
Think about it this way. Cortez conquered the Aztec Empire, right? He had 3 little ships, just a few guys. The guys were giving up. He burned the ships.
Yeah.
He went on to conquer the Aztec Empire.
Yeah.
Persistence.
Love it.
Data-driven persistence. Because if your data tells you you're dead, well, then you have to give up. But if the data tells you you're right, why the heck would I give up?
Yeah, no, you keep going. I love that. That's actually, it's a really, really brilliant way of explaining it.
In our case, it's very simple. We have a little stock right now, right? It's disregarded, and one single event. If I come to you, I show 4-year survival benefit, lack of toxicity, and an unmet medical need, tumors disappearing. FDA has agreed that this is very good data and has given us a clear path, one single small study to come to market, which would probably make us call it a $10 billion company plus or minus something, right? But anyway, in that range. And we're trading at $60 million.
Yeah, no, it makes
one
perfect
single
sense.
event will turn this thing, and yes.
No, it makes perfect sense. So timeless lessons is that persistence and dependability. How about timeless mistakes? What are some timeless mistakes you've seen people make or you've made that you want to share with the audience?
Do I really want to admit to my mistakes?
Bring them on. I think it's the best part.
Everything takes longer and is more difficult than you think.
Nice.
So being an optimist is a good thing because you give up otherwise. Being an optimist is also a dangerous thing because you think you can get it done in X amount of time, and it generally takes longer and costs more money. So my mistake was that I should have raised, for example, 3.5 years ago, instead of $55 million, I should have raised $155 million.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Next question. Yeah, I get that because timeless mistakes, you think things are going to get done in a week or in a month or in a year, and then all of a sudden you can run out of money or run out of time or run out of whatever that expectation is. But if you plan for the unexpected, which it will take a longer than expected time to accomplish the goal, you have enough gas in the tank, so to speak, to continue on the journey. Makes perfect sense.
This bear market in biotechnology has lasted longer than any other bear market before. Many people have given up and simply shut their companies down. Many have, and so that's why I think we're long overdue. It's like, call it reversion to the mean.
Yes.
Right? At some point, and in biotech, that happens very quickly. But with every plus that I'm telling you something good, there's always a negative associated, right? Someone is brilliant in certain areas. They're probably not so good in other areas, maybe called common sense.
Right.
I'm a really good common sense guy. You give me a 10-page document, I find your mistake literally in a minute. That's what I'm good at. I can translate the deep science into something that's understandable. I know enough about Wall Street to avoid the worst of the games that they play. Okay. That's called experience and dedication.
I love that. And then about leadership, what are some lessons you've learned about leadership that you'd like to share with the audience?
So my personal approach is that let me take a step back. In our business, people must be not just incredibly bright, but they must be very specialized experts in certain areas because it's very complicated. It is not possible, and it doesn't work, that you supervise them. right? They go on a long leash and you have to measure them by the results. And I find that if you get the right people, it works.
I love
And
that.
if you
Totally.
find that they're not the right people, you need to let them go quickly.
Yeah.
But
It's almost like
most
cutting your
people I
losses.
find respond well to trust, but as Reagan said, trust but verify.
Verify. Right.
Yes.
No, that makes perfect sense. It's almost like investing where you want to keep your losses small, let your winners run, and have the
Yes.
asymmetric reward to risk. So how
Oh,
about
I still have to work on that one also. I don't always do as well as I'd like to.
I think we all do. So, final question for you, Geert, is what is the best piece of advice you'd like to give the audience or your 30-year-old self?
Um, so wow, that's a tough one. I wish you'd prepared me for that one here. First of all, the most important decision in your life is the choice of your life partner. Right? Together you can solve all kinds of things. Then after that, it's focus on the family. But many people might say have a nice hobby to distract you, whatever. I'm the opposite. I think for me, it's just family and work. I think literally when you're doing something like we're doing here, you have to be completely and utterly focused 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And in fact, the sleepless nights that come from that are the most important time in your development. I can point to multiple sleepless nights that have saved this company again and again and again. So pain, unfortunately, we learn through pain. And yeah.
Absolutely love it. Ray Dalio's got a good line about the pain jungle where you got
Oh,
to
he
go do
does?
this. Yeah, he goes, there's a pain jungle, and then the other side's pleasure paradise. But you got to go through the pain jungle to get to the pleasure. But most people don't want to do it because humans are programmed to avoid pain and seek pleasure. So the second they see pain, like doing a six pack or doing sit-ups, I do a sit-up, it's painful, I stop. But if you keep doing the sit-ups, you'll get the six pack. But you got to go through the pain jungle, so to speak. Brilliant. I absolutely love it. Well, Geert, this has been absolutely fantastic. How can investors learn more about your company or your stock?
Well, you can go on our website. It's www.cel-sci, so CEL, and then a horizontal dash SCI.com, CEL.SCI-SCI.com. You can also call it our company, which, it's 703-506-9460, 703-506-9460. We're in the Washington, D.C. region, which is nice because FDA is here, NIH is here. Many good things many collaborations we've had with the Army, the Navy, NIID, you name it. So
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Geert. Hopefully we'll have you on again soon. This is absolutely fantastic.
Adam, thank you so much. And I just look, I love talking about it. So if I talk too much, I apologize.
No, you did a great job. I really enjoyed it. I mean, a
Okay,
lot of
well,
great
thank you.
nuggets of wisdom in this episode for sure.
And by the way, all false pride has long been beaten out of me.
Well, Geert, thank you so much.
All
Hopefully
right,
we'll have
then.
you again
Bye-bye. Take
soon.
care.